Right now, right now. 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 Oh, I got a real good feeling.
We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We've got to add a little addendum to the show map today. So we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. It always has been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since the the government has been
Hey guys, what's going on? Jebb here, and welcome back to Talking Crypto Live. This is your weekday morning show where we bring you the latest in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, technical, on-chain, and fundamental analysis, all while also looking at the macro environment. Really got to work on that intro. I'm not exactly sure how I want to fit all of that in because that is definitely a mouthful. Guys, this weekend was huge for Bitcoin. And by the way, I'm going to explain why I'm still at home here in a little while. There's been a lot going on this weekend. But this weekend was huge for Bitcoin, and the big reason was because Bitcoin went absolutely parabolic. Currently, it's trading at about $20,830 over the weekend, especially on Friday, moving into Saturday. And that's kind of plateaued since then, but especially Friday, moving into early Saturday, we saw huge price appreciations of over $1,000 a day. In fact, we've rallied over $4,500 in just 15 days. That is the largest percentage gain that we have seen in nearly a year, dating back to March. Especially by the amount of price that has appreciated. Absolutely incredible rally. We're going to talk about whether or not this is the beginning of the bull market, or are we just erasing the massive losses that we witnessed after the collapse and complete and total destruction of FTX. Of course, Bitcoin dropped about $4,500 following that movement. Now it's rallied about $4,500. And the question on the table is, can Bitcoin hold $20,000? And can Bitcoin begin a bull market from here? Was CPI enough? These are very important questions that we're going to analyze in today's video. Now, you might be wondering why I'm still at home when I was supposed to be on set today. We forgot, and shame on us for forgetting, because this really is a great day. We forgot that today is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I believe it is, right? I'm not wrong. Let me just make sure. Let me just make totally sure that I'm not wrong. Yes, today's Martin Luther King Jr. Day. If you don't know who he is, obviously, he was a pastor, actually. He was a preacher. He was one of the guys that led the civil rights movement in the 60s. So shout out to Martin Luther King Jr. Thank you for what you did for our country. We definitely love that we're a much more inclusive nation today than we used to be. You're not going to find any biblical backing for racism. You're just not going to. It's horrible. It's sin. It's disgusting. And it's downright reprehensible. And a lot of people don't know that Martin Luther King actually was using the Bible as the way that he was preaching against racism. Because the Bible explicitly says that we are not any different from one another. We have different callings, we have different purposes, we have different roles, but we are all just as valuable to God because he created every single one of us in the likeness of his image. So shout out to Martin Luther King Jr., and we definitely respect and observe that holiday here today. But I am going to be live, so I hope you guys are looking forward to the stream. Hopefully you guys are looking forward to Martin Luther King Jr. Day. The reason we are at home today because of Martin Luther King Jr. Day is because Malachi's preschool is closed. So he is currently sleeping. We let him stay up really late last night, hoping that he would sleep through the stream. So just go ahead and pray with me real quick. Malachi, Lord, please help Malachi to stay asleep through this whole stream. He's our 2-year-old, if you don't know who he is. And that will make things a lot easier on my wife, who is currently pregnant and going through a ton of contractions. Anyway, enough of the personal stuff. We'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of the stream if you are interested. We've already got 200 people watching. Really appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. We got Crypto Nebs in chat. Said, sending love and light to you and Sarah. Let's see. We've got Crypto Ben Franklin in chat. Said, happy Monday, everyone. We got CBD Suddy. Said, good morning, Jebb and everyone. Mike Lowry's in chat. Said, good morning, everyone. We got CBD Suddy. Again, said, Jebb, the hat fits, sir. Keep wearing it and get a pin. What kind of pin should I get? Do you mean like a little pin that you can... It's like... Let's just put a pin in that. If any of you have ever seen the movie Bolt, you'll get that reference. Siobhan Golay said, hi, everyone, and said good morning. When People said good morning, all. Crypto Mini Bike in chat said good morning, everyone. Jojo said good morning, Jebb and everyone. Crypto Mini Bike said, my daughter and I are going skiing today, so I'll be heading out on the road soon. Let's go. I absolutely love that. I have never been skiing, but I have been snowboarding, and I really want to hit the slopes again. Don't know if I'll ever get to again, but I hope I will. Siobhan Golays in chat said, it's good to join with you today, Jebb. Thank you. Just Ray's in chat. Mike Lowry's in chat. And one more thing, just so that you guys know, if I'm a little bit slower than I normally am, or if I'm it's a little bit more difficult for me to come up with a word, it's because I'm actually very sick right now, and it hasn't hit me, my sinuses, very much just yet, but it definitely affected my sleep, and it's definitely making my thought process a little bit more cloudy. That happens whenever I get sick. I don't have the mental clarity I usually have been blessed with. So if I'm a little bit slower to come up with a word, or I don't talk quite as fast, that would be why. You got a haircut. I did not get a haircut. I just actually did something with it today. I do need to get a haircut. Classic IT guy said, good morning. I really want to take my 5-year-old daughter snowboarding. Snowboarding is a lot of fun, but you also know what else is a lot of fun. Bitcoin being at $20,845 is up 0.25% over the last 24 hours, but over the last 7 days, it is up 20%. You heard me right. It is up 20%. Over the last 90 days, it's up 6.54%, and year to date, it's up 25.26%. Bitcoin has been rallying exceptionally quickly over the last 15 days. We're going to look at that on the chart here in a second. But not just Bitcoin. Ethereum is trading sideways today, but was up substantially over the weekend. We can see that it's up 16% as well. Year to date, it's up 28%. See what I mean when I say that whenever the market takes off, a lot of times it's going to actually be Bitcoin that just dominates absolutely everything. This is exactly what I'm talking about. In the last 7 days, Bitcoin's actually up more than just about everything else in the top 10. I don't know that there's a single top 10 cryptocurrency up here that's rallied more in the last 7 days than Bitcoin. All of the other top 10 cryptocurrencies, like Ethereum, like XRP, like Dogecoin, all of these, BNB, they all have not rallied as much in the last 10 days, the last 7 days, as Bitcoin has, because when a market starts taking off, when the crypto market starts taking off, it normally takes off with Bitcoin leading it. Now, you can see Ethereum and the altcoins lead, but a lot of times they'll be leading, and then Bitcoin will come and surpass them, and then just start running on its own. So an altcoin cycle can start a bull market, but normally the bulk, the actual meat and potatoes of a big rally is going to come out of Bitcoin, just because it is the alpha of cryptocurrency. It's the king of crypto, as I like to call it. Now, there's a few things here on CoinMarketCap that we want to analyze as well, not just looking at the price, although the price is interesting. I mean, for example, we have Binance sitting up here at almost $300. Love to see it. XRP sitting at almost 40 cents. Cardano at 35 cents. That's wonderful. But this is what I'm really interested in right now, because a lot of people are saying, will Bitcoin, including myself, this is a good question, will Bitcoin hold $20,000? But the question that I'm actually a little bit more interested in is, will Bitcoin and crypto hold or break, I should say, $1 trillion in market capitalization? As you can see, Bitcoin and crypto were sitting above right around to above $1 trillion market cap. In fact, we were actually trading on the bottom side of it for the most part, but we were trading around it. You can see all of this sideways movement. We were within, for the most part, $100 billion of this middle line right here, which represents $1 trillion. Bitcoin fell below this line exceedingly well. So the question becomes, is this just a fake out recovery to come up here and test 1 trillion and then reject from it? In which case, we've set 1, 2, 3, 4 substantial lower lows, and that's just not even going back to these up here. That just means we've set 4 substantial lower highs. I'm sorry, not lower lows. And it also means that Bitcoin has smashed its head on a ceiling at $1 trillion, and then down we go. I don't want to be a perma bear, because I'm definitely not. In fact, I am perfectly happy being called a perma bull if you're talking about a 10-year time frame. I'm not trying to be overly bearish, but right now, you are going to get a lot of Bitcoin's going to the moon. Bitcoin's exploding. Bitcoin's going to make you a crypto millionaire. If you work hard, then yeah, it might do that. You would do that with the work that you'd put in. But we don't know that yet. There's a lot that's unaccounted for as of yet. We don't really know whether crypto is going to be able to reach back above $1 trillion. And if it doesn't, well, then what crypto is doing here is it's actually struggling to get above a third of its all-time high. The all-time high for Bitcoin and crypto on market capitalization is, let's just call it $3 trillion. Let's just call it what it is, about $3 trillion, especially if you lump in the market cap of all the companies there, it's probably $4 trillion. But with the crypto market, with the cryptocurrencies themselves, we're sitting at $3 trillion all-time high, November 10th of 2021. Right now, we're trying to get above $1 trillion. Two things. Number one, it's incredibly bullish that we are even able to sit at $1 trillion on a massive bear market. We're down 66% from all-time high on cryptocurrency. We are down about 70% from all-time high on Bitcoin. We're still sitting at $1 trillion. That's wonderful. That's incredible. We love to see that kind of bullishness. However, the great concern here is that if Bitcoin is not able to get above $1 trillion, then what are we really doing here? We're hitting our head on resistance and we're falling. That is not characteristic of a massive rally. That is characteristic of a recovery rally that is actually going against the larger trend. We call that a correction. We don't call that a trend. There is a difference. If you have a rally going like this, then when you're going in this direction, you're in the rally. When you're in this direction, you're in the correction. When you're in this direction, you're in the rally. When you're in this direction, you're in the correction. When you're in this direction, you're rallying, correction, rally, etc. Same thing on the flip side. If this is the trend and you're going down, you're in the correction. If you go up a little bit, you're in the rally, but that's a corrective movement. Let's just use a different word to make it more simple. If you're going down, you are dropping. If you rally for a little bit, you're in a correction. Then you go down, you're in the rally, you're in the overall trend. Then it's a correction. These smaller legs right here are called corrective movements. You even see them in something like Elliott wave, where you're going to see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 is the rally, 2 is the correction, 3 is the rally, 4 is the correction, 5 is the movement. That's not exactly where you put Elliott waves, but you get my point. 2 and 4 are the corrective movements. 1, 3, and 5 are the actual primary movements. So what are we looking at right now? Are we looking at a corrective movement to the upside against a backdrop of a massively bearish 12 months in history? Or are we witnessing this correction be so large that we're actually going into a bull market? That really is the question. I think it comes down into 3 components. Number 1, can we break and hold above $1 trillion market cap? Number 2, can we hold above $20,000 on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency? And number 3, what happens with the effective federal funds rate? I'm going to bring the chart up here. We're very likely to see a 25% basis point rate hike on the EFFR. In fact, CME Group is putting it at a 91.2% likelihood. So a 25% basis point rate hike would be wonderful. But the third component I was talking about is how does the market respond to that data drop? We can almost assume that we're going to see a 25 basis point rate hike, and that would be phenomenal. We would love to see that for the strength of Bitcoin. The interest rate will be sitting at 4.75%, so that's pretty high. That gives the Fed what it wants to curtail inflation. They likely would drop another 0.25% basis point rate hike on the 22nd of March 2023, the next time that they have a release. So they get what they want as far as trying to get inflation under control and having a very strong dollar. But it is also very bullish for Bitcoin because people are, one of the major reasons that people are not buying a lot of Bitcoin right now is because of the rate market. It's incredibly high right now. It's completely thrown out of whack. And if people want to be able to buy into Bitcoin and crypto, they want to see that there's going to be some kind of stability in the economy, not a stranglehold put on the economy by the interest rates. So those are the 3 things I'm looking for right now. Let's kind of run through them individually. Number 1, can Bitcoin break above $1 trillion? That's a really interesting question because depending on who you ask, it hasn't even gotten close to $1 trillion. TradingView characterizes crypto's market capitalization this way. It says its current market cap is $930 billion. CoinMarketCap, on the other hand, puts it at $980 billion, $977. That's a $50 billion difference. So depending on who you're asking, Bitcoin is either very close or kind of close. The thing to look out for here is that $1 trillion is probably one of the largest levels of resistance that we could possibly find anywhere within $500 billion of ourselves on Bitcoin and crypto. And the reason I say that is because if we look here into the past, we've seen $1 trillion play a pretty significant role. We saw it play a significant role back over here. We got stopped in this area. Before Bitcoin could go into a major rally, the market kind of had to digest the fact that, wow, hang on a second, this is a $1 trillion market now. Golly. And then we kept on going after we digested that fact, but $1 trillion was a stopping point. Over here, $1 trillion has been a level of support and resistance more times than you could count reasonably on this chart, especially if you look at the CoinMarketCap's chart, which shows you a different market capitalization figure, because it gives different numbers, you can see on this one especially, we're just moving around $1 trillion all the time. Right here, right here, right here. We're looking at July 26th. We're looking at June 26th, July 7th. We're looking at July 25th, August 19th. All of this trading is sitting around 1 trillion. So there is a ton of resistance around 1 trillion. And in fact, if we look at the VPVR here on the total market capitalization supply, on the total cryptocurrency market capitalization chart over on TradingView, that's what I was trying to say, then you're going to find that the VPVR maximum is sitting right here at $920 billion. We're sitting at $923 billion on crypto total market cap. If we were looking at the coin market cap chart, if you were able to show it on TradingView, which I don't think you are, then you would probably see this VPVR maximum sitting about $3 billion below where we're sitting there, because everything just moves up about $50 billion. The whole market basically just moves up $50 billion. So it might as well be the same chart, just slightly different numbers. That's a really difficult place to be. You can see that level was right here. That's where it is. Look at this. Look at this line. This line right here that I drew, this red line. Basically, if I go ahead and remove the VRVP, I keep saying VPVR. They changed the name on me like a year ago, and it has been confusing me ever since then. It's the VRVP because they switched the way that it was. It used to be volume profile of the visible range. Now it's the visible range volume profile. Anyway, this level right here at $930-ish billion, $940-ish billion, that is the VPVR maximum. That is an incredibly difficult level of resistance. And you can see that that's exactly where Bitcoin and crypto topped out. We're actually much more interested right now in the total market cap charts than we are in Bitcoin, and this is why. Look at the VRVP. See the VRVP maximum. It's sitting right there. However, that actually gives us a bit of insight onto the Bitcoin chart, because if you'll remember last week, we talked about VRVP quite extensively, in fact. We talked about the fact that we were seeing a major top. Now, it wasn't the VRVP maximum because that was down here, but we were seeing a major peak on VRVP sitting right here, both of these two peaks. And I told you that Bitcoin was sitting on top of this market right here. This was on Friday. As I said this, I believe this was in Friday's stream. Could have been on Thursday, but I don't think the price was there yet on Thursday, so I think it would have had to have been Friday that I said this. We were sitting on top of this peak on VRVP. And I've described VRVP like a mountain before, and the market like a ball. If you're on top of a peak on the VRVP, you have a lot of potential kinetic energy. Excuse me, not potential kinetic energy, because those two things are different. You have quite a lot of potential energy that can transition into kinetic energy. When the market is sitting above the VRVP maximum or something very close to it, it's like having a ball on top of the pyramids of Giza. If you knock it one way or the other, or the wind blows any which way, it's going to roll all the way down, and it won't stop because there's no landing for it to fall on, because it's a perfect slope. That's what you see here, except it's not a perfect slope because there are other little smaller slopes. You typically don't sit on top of a peak on VRVP for very long when you're in a very volatile market. Typically what you end up doing is you move one direction or the other, and you move in those directions with quite a lot of power, if you've already got a lot of power, and that's what we have here. Just make sure I'm on the right screen. I am. We have quite a lot of power at the moment, and as you can see, we did manage to roll to the upside over the top of the VRVP. We rolled all the way up the mountain because of all of that force pushing us up the mountain of CPI data coming in last Wednesday at 6.5%. Then we got over the mountain, rolled the other direction. So we managed to roll over this hill, over this valley, over that hill, and now we're sitting right here. This is the little peak that we're on right now. Again, using the mountain climbing analogy. There's a little peak right here that Bitcoin is on. And now the question is, can Bitcoin find the momentum to move further to the upside? The thing is, guys, Bitcoin's getting a little bit tired because this rally has taken place for a couple of different reasons. We're going to analyze the funds rate here in a minute, keep it in keeping with the three big things that I think are going on right now. But I think, first I want to say, I think Bitcoin's getting a little bit tired. Bitcoin has, just to verify the claims that I made in the description box of this video and in the introduction of this video, Bitcoin has rallied over the last 15 days, measuring from January 1st to today. is rallied $4,300, which is 26%, and to peak, we've rallied $5,000. That's 30% in 15 days. We have not seen that kind of movement. You can go and look. You won't find it until you go all the way back to March 2022. In March of 2022, the market did rally $10,600 in 14 days. That is the largest movement that we have seen in a very long time. In fact, right here, you've seen in 7 days, we tried to rally $5,000. We did not quite rally just that much. We did pretty much tie right here. So just keep that in mind. We pretty much tied right here. But you're not really going to find anything that just completely blows this out of the water until you go back to this movement right here. And the thing to keep in mind is that we're supposed to be in this exceedingly bearish period right now. We're supposed to be in this exceptionally boring period right now. Remember, if we look at the BLX Brave New Coin Liquid Index for Bitcoin chart, it's a bit of a mouthful. That is basically the oldest chart for Bitcoin. It's a composite chart. And we look at the past here, we're supposed to be in this boring sideways action. We're supposed to be in this boring sideways action, but wait, what happened towards the end of that movement? Oh, look, parabolic movement. We saw parabolic movement in both of these cases. Let me just ask you, does this market that we're looking at right now, where we capitulated below huge support at $18,400, and then we fell below it, and now we're going parabolic out of it, does that look a little bit like what we saw over here? Does that look a little bit like what we saw in the beginning of 2019? When Bitcoin capitulated below $5,800, which was this major level of support, $5,800 to $6,000 region, we fell down here for a few months, and then just seemingly out of nowhere one day, we just massive rally. I called this the April Fool's rally back in the day because everybody thought, aha, Bitcoin is just trolling us. It's not actually going to go through a huge movement. But then it did, and it just didn't stop for 2.5 months, and we rallied $8,900. Well, that's kind of what we're doing right now, isn't it? We've seen this just huge, out of the blue, giant spike in price action following, guess what? The CPI data drop. I've been telling you guys how important CPI is. It is an incredibly important metric. It is honestly probably one of the most important numbers to the entire cryptocurrency market right now because it is the thing that's driving the Fed rates being changed, and it's also the thing that most people, unless you do a lot of very in-depth analysis, it's the thing that most people are looking at to see where the global economy is. That number definitely does not encapsulate it. Not even close, but it is the thing that most people that are trading are looking at to see how the global economy is doing. If they see that number is sitting where they would like it to be, which is lower, then they think in their monkey brains, I definitely think in my monkey brain sometimes when I see a number, oh, number go down, Bitcoin go up, great, I'll buy. And that's what we kind of just saw. Everybody saw the number went down, that means things are getting cheaper. That's not how that works, but some people think that. Things are getting more expensive slower. That's actually the way that it works. Great. That means the global economy is stabilizing. Things are going to go back to normal, right? Not exactly, but again, that's kind of how people rationalize it. So people think, good, we've seen massive inflation. That's why Bitcoin dropped. That's actually not why Bitcoin dropped. Bitcoin rallied crazy amounts when the market was going through major amounts of inflation. When I talk about inflation, I don't mean CPI. I'm talking about the actual devaluation and debasement of the United States dollar and every other world currency around the world. Every other world currency, I should say, that had a ton of printing going on. Inflation is actually not necessarily a bad thing for Bitcoin. A lot of times it will drive people away from their sovereign currencies to Bitcoin, but many people don't see it that way. They see lower inflation, better for Bitcoin, even if that's not exactly the way that that works. So people are paying close attention to the CPI. They're saying CPI is looking good. It's coming down. That means that we're going to have a more healthy environment for risk on asset like Bitcoin to go through a massive rally, right? Not exactly, but that's what people think. The good news is, guys, what this rally shows us is that people are sitting on their hands on the edge of their seats, just waiting for something bullish to happen so that they can go into a long. And all of the Debbie Downers, if you will, are sitting on massive short positions. And by the way, I have not shorted at all during this correction. I've been sitting here waiting for a major rally on some bags that we bought back at $16,200 that are doing very well right now, by the way. And many of those people that were shorting got wrecked. We saw $500 million in shorts getting liquidated in a day on Friday. Now, something that I want to point out is that half of those shorts came from OKEx. Last time we saw an exchange account for half of all short liquidations in a 24-hour period, it was FTX, and 3 weeks later it went bankrupt. So that is a little bit strange that the vast majority of them are on OKEx. It seems like everybody on OKEx just got absolutely wrecked. So keep an eye out for OKEx, because that means a lot of money is no longer on that platform per se. You can also see here in the last several days preceding that, the majority of those shorts took place on OKEx. In fact, in all 3 days preceding that, most of the short liquidations took place on OKEx. Here they had half of the short liquidations. 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 Here they had almost half of the short liquidations, about 40%. And then it starts to drop off and the trend disappears right there. There's shorts getting liquidated on OKEx seemed to be one of the major things that drove this market to the upside. Or the market being driven to the upside was one of the main things that caused the short liquidations on OKEx. It's a chicken and the egg problem. You don't know which one to cause the other, but both of them definitely exacerbated each other. The question now is, what are all those shorters going to do? All those people that shorted, what are they going to do? Are they going to turn around and become bulls when Bitcoin just rallied $15,000 in the middle of a bear market and just say, okay, well, I guess the bear market's over? Or are they going to double down and they're going to short the market again, and they're going to drop all that selling pressure on the market and then drive the market even lower because they realize Bitcoin is in an incredibly vulnerable position right now. Bitcoin is in a remarkably vulnerable position right now. It is so overextended. If this were a war, you'd have a breakthrough in the line, and the supply chains are here, and the troops are here, and now you got to somehow hold this while this catches up. I feel like I'm annotating like football right now. You got to let the market catch up to the idea that Bitcoin's trading at $21,000 again. Everybody's used to Bitcoin trading at $17,300, which means that everybody not wants it to go there, but everybody kind of expects it to go there because you got out of the mean. You got away from the normal. So if you're not careful, Bitcoin will go there because everybody is used to that. The reversion to the mean. It's one of the most basic concepts in trading and trend analysis, is that the market will end up reverting back to its mean unless you have some kind of major force that redefines what the mean is. We've seen this major rally, but the only thing that I can really base it on are a bunch of liquidations on OKEx and the CPI data coming back bullish. Very big deal. Don't get me wrong. But it's not like we've seen a major development in the FTX trial. It's not like all these other cryptocurrencies exchanges are out of the hot seat. Many of them are, if anything, in more of a hot seat than they ever have been. The market itself, the industry itself, has years of retooling that it needs to do following this complete and total disaster that was FTX. And that's going to take time. I'm excited about Bitcoin. Right now, it needs to hold to $20,000 at least. And if it really wants to solidify its gains up here, crypto needs to rally above $1 trillion. But let's look at the CME Futures prediction, CME Group's prediction for the next rate hikes, and then that will give us some more insight into what's going to happen relatively soon. Now, the next Federal Reserve meeting is on February the 1st, 2023. On that date, we're going to see the rate release. Right now, we're currently sitting at a target rate of 4.25 to 4.5%. The prediction is a 25 basis point rate hike for, with a 91.2% likelihood to 450 to 475 basis points. That would equate to 4.5 to 4.75 basis percent on the funds rate. That is one of the largest rate hikes that we have seen, one of the highest rates that we've seen in a very long time. If we look at the EFFR over here on TradingView, you can see through this weekly data, this is, forgive all of my drawings here, this is the highest rate that we have seen on the US dollar in a decade and a half, going back to 2007, and that was on the downfall. The last time that we rallied up here, we did end up going all the way to 5.25. In this case, we very well could end up going to 5.25. I would not be at all surprised, because this is what we did moving into the Great Recession. The Fed kind of saw it coming, so they started hiking rates beforehand, and then they slammed the rates to the floor and kept them at the floor for a decade following that 2008 recession, and then the 2010s were just money printer go burr territory. Now what we may end up seeing happen is that they've raised the rates too late, so it's going to take longer for those rates to actually become effective, and they're going to hold off on dropping them, and we'll get used to the economy being this difficult for a few years as globalization retools itself, and then eventually they'll start dropping rates more gradually than what they did back here at the beginning of 2008 when the recession started. So we could see this go something like this. I think 5.25 is likely again. And then we could maybe see it drop something like that. That's not exactly, probably wouldn't take that long, wouldn't go into the 2030s, but nevertheless, you're not going to see it just jump off a cliff the way that it did moving into the 2010s. So, what does that mean for the crypto market? That means that money is going to be more expensive for a year and a half to 2 years at least. The kind of loans that many of these crypto companies were built on were based on 0 to 1% effective federal funds rate territory, and then loan financing was not much there above because everybody wanted to invest in crypto. At least the more risky banks wanted to invest in crypto because allegedly there's a ton of money here. The problem is there is a ton of money here, but that money is a little bit of an illusion because you can't sell every single Bitcoin and expect to get $400 billion out of it. If you sell a tenth of that, you crash the price massively because there's a dichotomy there where if you move just a little bit of the supply, you massively impact the price. So it's very volatile. That's why we've seen these massive rallies, massive crashes. So the market is not quite as stable as people think it is. There's not quite as much money here as people think there is, although there is a lot. There's not really $1 trillion here. If you tried to sell all $1 trillion, the market would disappear. Same thing with the stock market. The stock market's just a lot larger, so it's able to take more of a hit of that. You can move $10 trillion and you don't move the stock market that much. You move $100 billion in crypto, a literal $100 billion, and sell it out of the market, you completely collapse the entire industry. So that keeps a lot of the bigger banks away, and it scares a lot of the bigger investors that, hey, there's a lot of volatility here. So people were building a lot of companies based on debt. They had taken out huge debt to equity ratios. Core Scientific right now just read a report a week and a half ago that they had a 25-to-1 debt to equity ratio. They're worth $400 million. Had whatever it was, $10 billion in debt. I forgot the exact numbers. Something insane like that. Many of the companies in crypto right now that are thriving, or were thriving, were built on, frankly, stupid money principles of having huge amounts of debt, not enough cash flow, and basically no profit, which means that whenever you see any kind of thing happen to the market, they have to lay off 20% of their workforce. We're seeing Coinbase lay off a massive amount of its workforce. They already have. They've been gradually downsizing for a year and change now. Seeing Crypto.com, you're seeing you're seeing pretty much every Huobi. We talked about Huobi last week. You're seeing pretty much every exchange having massive layoffs and the downsizing of the industry. So you're seeing us go back to our roots. When you see those rates come back down, then people can get cheap debt again, and you start to see the industry rebuild itself the way that it had before. But that's not even necessarily a good thing because the way that the industry built itself before on the back of cheap debt is part of the reason why it's going through such turmoil right now. So we're hoping that people will learn the lessons from the past and choose not to repeat them. So, long story short, those are the three big things I'm looking for. I want to see Bitcoin get above 1 trillion, hold it for at least a month. I want to see Bitcoin hold $20,000, and I want to see how the market reacts to a 25 basis point rate hike. Do people go absolutely bonkers and just buy a ton of Bitcoin because, wow, the rate hike season that we've been in for a year of 75 basis points for 5 straight meetings is over? Or do people look at it from a little bit more of a realistic standpoint and they say, okay, well, great, it's only 25% this time, but it's still it's not 25%. It's only 25 basis points this time, but it's still 25 basis points higher than what it was, so loans did just still get more expensive. Well, let's see how the market reacts to that. To be honest with you, I don't really know. We've never seen this happen in crypto in the past where you're seeing a deceleration of the rate hikes on the effective federal funds rate. We don't really have a precedence for this because it doesn't happen very often. We kind of have to sit back and wait and see. So I think Bitcoin has a very powerful opportunity right now to go through a huge rally, but Bitcoin definitely is going to have to do a lot to capitalize on it. All right. Let's go ahead and read some chat. We have 700 people tuning in today. Really appreciate you guys for tuning in. By the way, normally I am on our professional studio at the office. Today I'm at home because I am sick and also because our son's preschool is closed. And unless I want him running around the office with all of the expensive camera gear or just doing laps like this, like he's on a racetrack or something, then we decided that he would stay home. All right. Let's catch up with chat here a little bit. Got a lot of chat to read. Wow. Thank you guys so much for all of your wonderful chats and support. Come to Jebb for crypto takes, but if you don't hear and appreciate his life talks, well, I don't know, man. Maybe you need to reflect. Siobhan Golay said, "It's good to join with you today, Jebb." Hello. It is good. Oh yeah, I already read some of those. There's a huge difference, even a bit slow. Always wishing you stay well. Thank you so much. Thank you. Siobhan Golay said, "The thing is, nobody is really sure if this is a bull trap or a confirmed uptrend." That's my point. We don't know. We need to see Bitcoin really prove it to ourselves. It's almost like when someone comes to Christ, if it's real, there's going to be a huge change in their life. There's going to be a huge change in their life, and that change could take a couple of years, but there's going to be a massive change in their life because there's power there. There's real, legitimate power over sin there. I cursed like a sailor before I was saved. I was angry. I was bitter. I was vitriolic. I was prideful. I thought I knew everything. And, I'm not going to say that those things don't crop up from time to time, but many of them never crop up. But I'm a different and changed man today after I came to Christ. It's a little bit like that with crypto. There's a confirmation that somebody has actually come to the Lord because you can tell by their fruit, is what the Bible says. You can tell by the fruit of this market whether or not it's real. But it's going to take time for it to confirm. Boo, I hope it goes back down. Nobody done trying to accumulate on the cheap. Yeah, for real. A correction in the bear market. So isn't it really a huge correction in months? Yes, that's at the moment what it is. But as the commenter right after you, Siobhan Golay, said, Dan T, there's a disbelief stage. That's the debate right now. Is this a giant correction or is this disbelief? It's very possible that it's disbelief. Policy board... Silasy Borg said, "So I'm down only like 80% rather than 90%, lol." Yeah, for real. Good morning, Matt C. Let's see. Okay. 1 trillion cap is a factor of resistance here, as we can see. Absolutely. Can't see the charts. I am sorry. More charts, less forehead. Yeah, fair enough. I got a bit of a 5 head, don't I? See, all 5 fingers fit right there. You got to be able to make fun of yourself on YouTube because people are going to do it for you. What's the next Fed rate change, Jebb? That would be February the 1st. Let's see. I'm going to read chat here for just a couple of more minutes, and then we're going to keep moving on. If there's anything you guys want to say, now's definitely the time to do it. We got a super chat. CBD Studies said, "On the hat pin, it should be small and simple, but anything that means something to you." Cool. I would love to put a pin in that hat. If you guys don't know what my hat is, I uploaded a video on Saturday. You can go see the hat in. By the way, what do you think of that video? I like doing videos on my phone with the hat in random places telling you guys about crypto. Seems to be something that you guys enjoy. One day I won't be a slave to my salary. There you go. That's the right mindset. Should we really wait for another bottom or just buy right now for 2025 at least? That's really one of the things I'd like to talk about in the second part of the show. Jebb, do you have a realistic market cap prediction for next bull run? I think $3 to $7 trillion. But that could take a few years. So Siobhan Golay, should we wait for another bottom or just buy right now for 2025 at least? Here's the deal. And by the way, if you're enjoying today's stream, make sure to smash that like button. Let's see if we can't get to 400 likes here in the next couple of minutes. The thing is, we don't know where the bottom is. There is a prediction from a very credible analyst who I'm about to show you to move into our second segment here that says that the bottom is already in. We've already seen a major drop in the price of Bitcoin down to $15,500 in November of last year, and that was the bottom, and the Bitcoin's going to move parabolically from here. I'm not convinced of that from a geopolitical and from a broader financial market standpoint concerning the funds rate, concerning CPI, concerning global stability, concerning supply chain logistics, concerning global political relations, geopolitical relations. Because the problem is that the world is in a transitionary phase right now from globalization to deglobalization. We're going back to the global economy is fracturing at the seams right now. People don't realize that because, especially in the United States, we're so shielded from that. Okay, great. Eggs went up to 50 cents an egg because they culled 55 million birds in Europe over the last 3 months because there's an H5N1 outbreak. And people think, okay, well, that kind of sucks, but I can live with eggs that are twice as expensive. We don't realize just through the prices how bad it's getting. Like, there are so many different consumer goods and commodities that people can't get a hold of anymore. They just can't. Or if they do, it's at 10 times the price. Globalization is pulling apart at its seams, and we have no model for what that does to Bitcoin. None. Bitcoin grew up in the peak of the globalization golden age. It started after 1945 when the United States started patrolling world oceans, and all of the axes of evil that everybody agreed were evil. Now, there's other evil that everybody agrees to overlook, but all the axes of evil that people saw were put down, except for the Soviet Union. But the Soviet Union made up a tiny percentage of population and GDP of the entire world. So the rest of the world, the 90% of the world that wasn't behind the Iron Curtain, globalized. Then the Iron Curtain fell, and all of those raw resources, money, people, and land poured onto the global market, and you saw 30 years of boom. 30 years of gigantic, massive global growth, and it was one of the greatest, most juicy times for the global economy that we've ever seen. Yes, 2008 happened. That was a blip in the radar. 1991 to 2021 were the most prosperous 30 years that humanity may have ever seen in the history of mankind. But that couldn't go on forever. So whether or not the bottom is in comes down to how Bitcoin reacts when the world is transitioning out of that. I think it'll come back. I think you will see globalization in some capacity come back, and I think I'm not saying that we're going to all go back to living in like dirt huts and eating porridge all day. I mean, we're going to go back to medieval times. But I am saying that things are going to get a lot more expensive, and different nations around the world are going to have a much harder time because they can't source the goods that they wanted to get at anywhere near the price that they could get them now, because the supply chains that made that whole economy work don't work. What happens to a risk-on asset that people use to invest in, but they don't actually live on, like Bitcoin, in that world when basic necessities get more expensive? In theory, Bitcoin is supposed to be the crypto for the people. It's not supposed to be the cryptocurrency that is driven to the upside by massive institutions. It's supposed to be the cryptocurrency that's driven to the upside by massive amounts of retail getting into it and trying to find financial sovereignty. Not a ton of different massive Fortune 500 corporations trying to make another $1 billion. It's supposed to be the little guy. What happens if the little guy can't afford to eat? And he doesn't have the education to know that Bitcoin's one of the ways that he could get out of that. Or what happens if none of the little guys who can't afford to eat get in it and Bitcoin just doesn't rally? Or even worse, if it does, but it does because the money's getting scooped up by Grayscale, or by Microsoft or Visa or MasterCard. Name the company that scoops up all the Bitcoin, and then all the Bitcoin's out of circulation, and then it's just not as useful for the average person because the average person's been turned off to it, and all of a sudden it's become an investment for the major companies. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that's kind of the doomsday scenario. If nobody can afford to buy it, the only people buying it are the elites, Bitcoin, at least in that season, now it can change, missed its mark. It's not Bitcoin's fault. It would just be the way that it was adopted. It's just the way the cookie crumbles. It's just the way history advances itself. What happens in that case? We don't know what happens to the price in that case. So, as far as the question that you had, Shibong, should we really wait for another bottom or buy right now in 2025 at least? By the way, I'm not really reading chat anymore. I'm going to read the super chat here in a second, but I'm not really reading chat anymore. I used your chat to move into the next segment. The question comes down to, how does Bitcoin react in that world? We have no idea. I think Bitcoin will do well. But like I said in Saturday's video, this is a mean bull. This is not a very friendly bull who's just going to let us ride him all over the rodeo, and we're just going to have a grand old time. This is a mean bull. This is a mean bull market. By the way, I found out that was actually a heifer. That wasn't a bull. I did not know female cows could have horns, but I was corrected yesterday by some ranchers. How does the market respond in that transitionary phase? We don't know, but we'll find out. All right. Let's read this super chat. Rafiq Umar donated $10. Said, can we please get real? How much does it take to move Bitcoin $1,000? And who has that kind of money to make Bitcoin move this much? Aren't you at all suspicious? It doesn't take, that's a great question. It doesn't take as much as you think to move Bitcoin $1,000, because let's get real. To move Bitcoin $1,000, you're talking $20 billion in market capitalization. It's very simple. You multiply, 20 times 20, you get 400. We're at $400 billion in market cap. To move the market to that degree, by moving it $1,000, you add or subtract $20 billion in market capitalization. It does not take $20 billion to move the market that much. We don't know exactly how much it takes, and it's not the same number every single time because it depends on the order. It depends on the how much buy and sell pressure there is on the order books on all of the various exchanges, because over-the-counter trades, in theory anyway, should not move the market. There's not an exact number, but it's far lower than $20 billion. You can move the market $1,000 with probably between $500 and $1 billion, $500 million and $1 billion. That's the kind of money that you can find pretty easily just by wiping out a bunch of people that are in a short trade. And that's what I was talking about on the liquidations. You can see on January 13th, we saw $500 million in short liquidations. On January 15th, if we go down to the hour here, we will see that, let's just go back to the very beginning of January 15th. I'm sorry, not January 15th. What day am I looking at here? January 13th. We look at the beginning of January 13th here. You can see that this market moved in that 24-hour span. It moved $2,215. And in that day, there was only $500 million in shorts. Now, shorts are not the only thing that moved the market, not even close. But this is $500 million in pressure. We're talking probably one to two, maybe $3 billion in actual money moving around that caused the market to move $2,200 in 24 hours. It is far easier to move the market $1,000 than people think it is. And that's kind of what I'm getting at, is that the market can move $5,000 with $10 billion of money moving around in the right way. I'm not saying necessarily that it is... Oh, man, my son's trying to get himself on camera. Hello, pal. Hi.
Hello.
Is that yours?
Yeah.
Daddy got the camera off just in time so you didn't do a face reveal. What are you doing in here? Give me 1 second, guys. Good morning. Why don't you go back out there with your mother and let her put this on you? Sorry for the cameo, guys. Malachi, go with your mother. It's okay. Go on. Go on. I'll be out in a little bit. It's okay, sweetie. Sorry about that. Looks like he woke up. I got the camera off, I think. I don't know. Maybe that may have been a face reveal just in time. Do apologize for that. Like I said, he just woke up. Anyway, what I was saying, let's see if I can get back on track here. What I was saying is that you can move the market very, very quickly with a very, very small amount of money. And if you have that small amount, I mean, relatively speaking, a very small amount of money, the kind of people that have that kind of money, we're talking about DCG with Grayscale, we're talking about MicroStrategy, we're talking about probably at this point Visa and MasterCard, we're talking about some of the big whales. Some of the big whales have $1 billion or more that they're moving around. They do it over the counter, but if they want to move the market, then they'll do it on exchange. Who is moving the market that much? It really comes down to, it comes down to who wants to move the market and why. First of all, that means that there's instability in the market because a relatively small event like CPI can cause a massive jump in the price. And on the second front, it also means that we have a pretty major weakness in the market, that just about anybody can move the market substantially if they want to, because the market is actually a lot more mobile than they would think, especially right now. That's one of the things I was telling you guys about, is that Bitcoin has very, very small order books. Well, excuse me, it had very steep order walls of about $1,000 on either side. But after we got over that order wall, you wiped out all the liquidity, or not all the liquidity, excuse me. You wiped out all of the resistance on the order books, and then Bitcoin just takes off like a Roman candle. That's what took place. Anyway, let's go ahead and reach out here for just a second. Sorry about my son barging in. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's two. Let's see. I'm looking to see if there's any comments on that, because I feel like there's going to be some people in chat going, "Aw." All right. Anyway, let's keep moving on here. What I wanted to show you was this. Plan B over on Twitter. This is what I was referencing in the description. Posted a couple of tweets here that I want to go over. Plan B said, "So far, so good. Bitcoin now crossed STH price light blue and realized price black. Next targets are the 200 WMA, $25,000, and 2-year realized price $32,000. Dark blue." You can see the different lines here. If you're familiar with stock to flow ratio, this will remind you of this. Looking at stock to flow ratio chart here, Bitcoin is very, very low. It's getting above the 5-month realized price, going up to the 2-year realized price, and the realized cost price is sitting right there around 20,000 or so. Bitcoin's trying to break to the upside above those. And then moving up here, Bitcoin bounces off the S2F lower bands like clockwork. You can see it fell below and then got right back up above. You can see that lower band right there in that really light blue or light gray, whatever color it is. And then if we just go to Plan B's Twitter, you can see that Bitcoin is playing catch up with the S&P 500. S&P implied Bitcoin price at $54,000. That's pretty cool. That's pretty encouraging that Bitcoin would be trying to catch up with the S&P 500. The S&P just took off in an absolutely crazy fashion because we saw because we saw a massive, because we saw just that huge amount of liquidity being poured into the market. We saw just a huge amount of debt being poured into the market, and so the stock market just took off like an insane amount, and we saw that change, and we saw the SP 500 doing very, very well, and the S&P still has a lot of that priced in, still has a lot of that cheap debt priced in. It has lost a lot of value, but Bitcoin didn't have a lot of that to keep it propped up. So Bitcoin didn't just go to $125,000 or $200,000 with it. It corrected a lot sooner and a lot more dramatically. Let's see. I think there was also one more tweet that I wanted to look at here. It would be this one. So my 2 sats on the Bitcoin price. November 2022 low of 15,500 was the bottom. Bitcoin has crossed the short-term hodler and will rise into the 2024 halving and subsequent 2025 Bitcoin bull market. Several on-chain signals confirm STH signal. He's predicting 2024 halving, Bitcoin will be over $32,000. 2025 bull market will be over $100,000. This tweet was posted on January 12th. If you'll remember, that lines up almost exactly with what I've been telling you guys for about a month and change now, that I think Bitcoin is going to follow a model somewhat like this, where moving into the halving, you'll probably see Bitcoin sitting up here in this quadrant right here, above at least $28,000 to $30,000 moving into the halving, and then into the 2025 Bitcoin bull market, you'll likely see Bitcoin rallying to north of $150,000 all the way up to $200,000. That's almost exactly what he's predicting, and this is interesting. In his opinion, this is Plan B's opinion, November 2022 low of 15,500 was the bottom. That's exciting. I mean, even as we're talking right now, Bitcoin's trading at 21,000. The question now becomes, as I've talked about, can Bitcoin use this as a bull flag and just take off? Or does Bitcoin Bart Simpson down from here? Here's my 2 sats. I'll kind of use this to conclude our stream. I think that Bitcoin has the greatest opportunity that it's had in over a year or in fact, through this entire bear market. This is the greatest opportunity that Bitcoin has had to not just be in correction, but to truly be in disbelief. This is not October, November of last year when we were leading up to the FTX correction. This is not July and August where we were bouncing from our lows at 20K. This is a lot different than that. This is a lot bigger, just size-wise. This is a lot bigger. This is also corroborated with CPI and the effective federal funds rate dropping. If we're going to see a bull market starting and the bear market ending, this is the first and best opportunity that we're going to have at that. By a long shot. By a country mile. This is the best and greatest opportunity that we're going to have to begin a bull market that we've had so far. The question is, are we going to make it first try? Are we going to be able to go into a bull market first try, especially when we're still a year away from the halving? The halving is slated to take place the 29th of March, 2024. What are we going to do for the next year? We're probably going to sit around this region, hopefully up in the high 20s, hopefully above these local lows, this low territory that we saw back over here, but we don't really know. We don't really know what Bitcoin's going to do. What I think you're going to see is you're going to see an attempt to break very, very much to the upside here, but it's going to take time. I don't think you're just going to blast off straight to $60,000. I think you're going to start ranging up here. Maybe we start ranging here around $19,000 to $22,000. We put an inverse head and shoulders pattern in here. We get ourselves a inverse H&S pattern that pushes us up to $28,000, and then that takes us all the way into like August of this year. I could see that happening. I could see that longer term formation taking place. Could definitely see that happen. Or we could see Bitcoin correct a little bit from here, drop down to 19.5, just pulling a number out of a hat. That's not exactly just a technical number, but that's around where a VPVR maximum is. And then you have a cup and handle formation, and then boom, Bitcoin uses that to rally up to $25,000 by mid-March, and then that's 1 year from the halving, and Bitcoin ranges up there around 25K, and then everybody's locking in support at that region, and then you find it very difficult to drop to the downside because the VRVP is giving us so much support in this region right here that you lock in the movement sideways at 25K. That's also a scenario. Really, what it's going to come down to is seeing how the market responds to this. How is the market going to respond on February 1st to this rate hike? Is this rate hike of 25 basis points, which is the most likely outcome right now, is this rate hike of 25 basis points going to cause a major drop in the price, a major rally in the price of Bitcoin, or are people going to brush it off and say, well, money still did just get more expensive? That's what it's going to come down to, and that's what we're going to be paying attention to. All right, let's go ahead and read some chat here to wrap out the stream. Really appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. Surprised there wasn't more comments in chat about my son just barging in. If you guys didn't know what that was there for a second when I went to the stream, I really apologize for that. That was my son. He just woke up, and I should probably lock these doors while I'm streaming because he just learned how to open a doorknob. He just ran in here. I'm really curious if he got himself on camera. I don't know if he did or not. He may have. He may have done himself a little face reveal there. I'm just scrolling back through. I don't think he did. All right. Let's see. It was the liquidators. Yep. Have a blessed day, everyone. The Classic IT guy said, yep. God bless Jebb. Let's see here. All right. Son walked in with the I love you. Yep, there you go. Jebb, my son is a daddy's boy too. I liked your picture of y'all's shadow. Love to see that stuff. Oh yeah, did you like that? I don't know if everybody saw that. I posted this on Twitter yesterday. Father and son. This is my son Malachi's shadow. We're not. I don't necessarily want him to be on camera right now because I want him to be able to have. I want him to be able to choose whether or not he's going to be on camera. I don't know what's going to happen with that. I don't know if I'm really bothered with the idea of him being on camera or not. But for right now, he's just not going to be on camera. Which he tried to be on camera just a second ago. So maybe that's his decision. But this is the tweet I was talking about. We were by a hay pile. So that's me and that's Malachi, our shadows. That's actually how I did a face reveal kind of a long time ago. As I posted a picture of my back to you guys, and everybody's like, "Oh, look, it's Jebb," because this is before the face reveal. Let's see. The famous analyst, Plan B. Yep, Plan B is very smart. Jebb, but we always see a nice small pump going into the halving, like a nice 30 to 40% increase. Then after halving is when we get exponential growth. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. We could be sitting at 30K, and that'd be a 50% rally. That'd actually be a 100% rally from our bottom, around 15,500. Wasn't captured. I was quick on the draw there, trying to protect him. Like, boom. We did not see a face reveal, Jebb. Man, I got in there just in time to click that down button so that it switched cameras. I saw him walk in. I'm like, whoa, what's up? Hi, dude. We did not see a face reveal, Jebb. Siobhan Golay said, Jebb, can you please make an interesting analogy relating to the Lord Jesus in this small bullish movement? I don't know. I suppose I could try. I think that there is a lot of hope in this rally, and there is the ultimate hope in Christ. I don't have any hope in the flesh. I have no confidence in the flesh. I have no confidence in Bitcoin when it comes to an absolute sense of things. Now, people are going to try and clip that and say, Jebb, you have no confidence in Bitcoin. That's not what I mean. I mean, compared to Christ, I have no confidence in anything. But compared to many things, I do have hope in Bitcoin. There's hope in this rally, and there's hope in Christ. There you go. That's the only analogy I can think of. I can't think of one off the top of off the spot because I don't want to necessarily equate Jesus with a movement on Bitcoin because one is vastly more important than the other. My brother's name is Malachi. Jebb bought the bottom. I did. Yeah. I bought down at 16.2, I think. Did Tim and Smay, etc. do you dirty? I've been away. Sorry if you have covered this already. I've covered that a little bit on the show. What I will say is that they are no longer working here, and I didn't fire them at all. No, they moved on their own. They believe that they were supposed to be in a different position, so that's where they are now. False hope in this rally for me. I would not be surprised if that was the case. Let's see. Read chat here for a couple more minutes here, and then we're going to wrap it out. By the way, guys, if you enjoyed today's stream, make sure to hit that like button. Let's get to 400 likes before we wrap it out. And also, subscribe to the channel for new content. There's a lot of new stuff coming out in the next month or so, guys. I'm really excited about some announcements I'm hoping that will come out soon. There was an announcement that we were planning on announcing last Friday. We actually pushed it back a little bit because we want to make sure it's ready. But there is something coming out that we are very excited for. And then we also, we're just really excited for this year because I want to see you guys succeed. I want to see you guys grow. And I think that we're going to be able to see a lot of that. Good deal. All right. All right, guys. Well, that's going to go ahead and wrap it out for today's video. I really appreciate all of you tuning in. Shwan Gole said, hashtag FinSov. Absolutely. CBD Suddy said, good show today. Smush the likes. There you go. I really appreciate all of you guys tuning in, and sorry about the sickness. It's been kind of, been a little bit difficult. I've not gotten a lot of sleep. By the way, kind of a personal update. On Friday, we did end up going to labor and delivery, and so we found out there's not an amniotic fluid leak for Sarah. And also, good news, I'll tell you more about this tomorrow. We actually might be 2.5 weeks further along than we thought, because the due date that we were going by seemed to be the only due date that was given us, but everything else gave us a different due date, and that due date is actually April the 4th. So we might actually be due about 2.5 weeks earlier than we thought, which means our daughter is 2.5 weeks further along than we thought, which is great news, because if she is born premature, that means she's going to have a lot less time in the NICU, and she's going to be a lot more likely to be healthy. Really appreciate it, guys. If you enjoyed today's stream, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, make sure to sign up for Lux Algo. I didn't use it today, but it's an incredible indicator. I use it in all of our content, more or less. I use it pretty much every single day, looking at the charts. Really appreciate all of you guys tuning in. Before I go, though, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Oh, I got a real good feeling.